Remember yesterday we had questions about what seems to be conflicting roles of the county and the national government, especially when it comes to childcare. And the feeling, maybe I can tell you, from yesterday's discussion, there was a question on why the counties are concentrating so much on the grown-ups, while when it comes to childcare or issues to do with child, they sort of shy off. I know that question will be posed as we move ahead. Next after her, of course, we'll be having it later. We'll be having Timothy Kesa, who is preparing, and we'll be calling him up. Just a small announcement. Those who've not registered, please find time to go to the registry table to register and get your meal card for today. And also, we have presenters who will be making the presentations after tea. Please see William. I think William, raise your hand up so that he can give you some instructions on how we'll be presenting at that time. So, CEO, Council of Governors, you have 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know the protocol, so I'll just say all protocols observed because if I attempted to recognize people in hierarchy who are here, I might mess up the positions. You might not greet me tomorrow. So I'll just say all protocols observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm very, very honored to be here to be in this event, having been invited as the Council of Governors to. I heard it being said keynote address, but I was just coming to share a few thoughts. I came in when the first presenter was making his presentation, and I said we were not told to do PowerPoint, so we will just talk because that's what we do at the council. So, so I would like to once again express our gratitude for inviting us here. I particularly wish to express my gratitude to the conveners of this important event. So this forum creates a suitable platform to reflect on our experiences as county governments, the challenges and the opportunities, and possible action areas on childcare and protection. We are all aware that as county governments, our interaction with children is mainly at the level of ECD and of course in TVET institutions. The youth who are out of school, who maybe decided they do not want to continue the secondary school education, so we basically manage the youth polytechnics and of course ECDs. And I heard a previous presenter indicting us that the facilities we have are not good, but I would like to tell you, I wish I knew that there is PowerPoint. I would have come to show you the ECD centers that we've built all over the country. And as a result, the national government, and they are represented here, have been taking our ECD centers and insisting that now they have to use it for their class 8 because they are the best facilities in the primary schools. So we have given them because we care about all children, although that is not our function. But our ECD centers definitely are the best within the institutions. Now, devolution has, since service provision, become more child-friendly, in the sense that we've introduced feeding programs. You're aware about the feeding program that Mombasa County introduced of milk. Other counties give children porridge. In ECD, I'm talking about the early childhood children. After that, when we finish with them, we ask them to go to class 1. Now I think the system has changed. And I did not come with the data, but I'm informed in most counties the children do not want to proceed to class 1 because they are going to sit on the floor and on stones. Because in our classrooms, they are sitting on beautiful chairs, and then they have mattresses and they sleep. So when they are going to class 1, they are really reluctant to move. So maybe that is one of the partnerships, as I heard somebody saying, why aren't we partnering? That is one of the partnerships we have to do with the national government, so that we can do model classrooms for all the children, so that when they are promoted to class 1, they are able to go. Otherwise, they are refusing to go because they are wondering, where will I be sitting? The other thing that we've done, of course, we partner a lot with the national government on matters of immunization, deworming of children, provision of vitamin supplements in pre-primary and of course in primary schools in all our counties. County governments have also participated in development of ECD curriculum and of course a scheme of service for ECDs. You are aware that it is the responsibility of county governments to ensure that they hire the ECD teachers. The issue of training of ECD teachers is the responsibility of national government, but the hiring is a responsibility of county government. So all over the counties, we've hired enough teachers, even in the areas that you have presented in terms of Wajir and Mandera. If you look at the number of ECD teachers who've been hired to take care of children, they are adequate. The challenge that we face is when the children now transit to primary school, and that is the challenge that was being presented, which we also share, that actually it's a challenge, especially in the areas, the FCDC counties, the frontier counties. There's been a big challenge. In addition, county governments have supported the opening of rescue centers, which provide a safe environment for children who are violated. When you look at the functions of county governments in the 4th schedule of the Constitution, this is not our function. However, since we are the government that is closer to the children, we cannot purport to say we won't do anything about it. And so the resources that we are allocated as county governments between the two levels of government, our equitable share, there's absolutely nothing on rescue centers. But we have to use the resources to spread it so that we can be able to take care of the children. And the challenge, therefore, we are facing is, since it is not our function, we are not adequately trained to take care of children in rescue centers who we are taking care of. So you'll find that from one county to the other, we don't have a standardized model for rescue centers because we are just trying. Because we have no clue what we are supposed to be doing, but we are told we need to take care of those children. So we said, okay, we'll take care of them. So maybe what I would be calling upon all the actors in child protection is to partner with county governments. Help us to build model centers that we can be able to put our children in the event that they suffer abuse. In most situations, we are saying we don't want our children to suffer abuse, but we live in a world where we have good people and bad people. So it's a reality that we have to deal with. A lot of times, the rescue centers are run through the offices of the county first ladies, who have absolutely no budget. And so they are doing it with well-wishers and just seeking out to see how they can get support. So it would be prudent for us who work in the 47 county governments seated here today, I assume, because we are very many, surely we should be in 47 county governments, to reach out to the First Lady offices and the Office of the Governors to help us to see how best can we be able to take care of the children in the rescue centers. Furthermore, the county governments are sensitive to issues of child labor. And so they work in collaboration with the labor officers within the counties to rescue children from abusive practices on labor. And of course, they also support enforcement of provisions of the national government against child labor. Again, as you see, it is a criminal issue. It's not really our function, but it is an offshoot of the environment within which the county governments function in. And so we have no choice but to actually reach out to the enforcement officers who are within the counties, of course, the police and the labor officers, to deal with that issue of child labor. And so we collaborate with them very, very closely. Despite the milestones gained over the 5 years that county governments have been in operation in providing childcare and protection, county governments still face a myriad of challenges, some of which I've already talked about. The lack of capacity in addressing issues like rescuing a child who has been abused and working in collaboration with the police. We have our own enforcement officers in county governments, but that the role of the enforcement officers in county governments is to enforce county laws. And county laws are not child labor laws. County laws are basically looking at the 14 functions that were given to the county governments, if you look at the 4th schedule of the Constitution. The other challenge they face is how to address the issue of child labor in informal sector, because it's very complex, because of the whole myriad of the issue of poverty in the country. So you wonder, when you rescue the child is from a poor background, they are working in a home, then where do I take them? They are orphans. So there's all that line. And of course, it's progressive cultural practices, which I already said. Most first ladies have taken up this challenge, and they're working with the well-wishers to set up places to put the children. And then, of course, there's also the challenge of the stigma around reporting of child abuse, which is a vice within the community, but which has to be reported in the police stations. And of course, a lot of the times when the cases go forward, they are lost because of collection of evidence, which is really not our function. You are all aware. It is a function of national government, because the police are under the national government. And we'd like to invite agencies working in all these sectors to partner with county governments to address these challenges and others, because we are the government that is closer to the people. As we move forward, there is greater need to plan for children using concrete evidence and data that is collected. The presentation that I came in that was being made is very good because it has a lot of data, and that data is needed at the planning table of county, when counties are making their annual plans. A lot of us stay in counties, and I usually ask people when they come to the council and say, county government should do ABCD, then I ask, did you go to the budget making process? Like how many of us attended the budget? I can see most of us here, you look like you're from Nairobi. So how many of us attended the budget making hearings in Nairobi, in the various places? You see, if we don't go to the plan where the budgets are being made, whatever issues we talk about to ourselves in this hall just remain here. And I'm also encouraging civil society organizations, development partners, to always go at the planning table and ensure, even if you're not going to give your money to the government, please let the resources that you have be declared as A. Say we have resources to do a rescue center in county-wide. Let it be reflected in the budget. Don't give the money to the government, because we are accused that if we are given money, we shall take it to something else. We shall buy cotton and we shall not build the rescue center. So don't give us the money. But please let your plans be reflected in the county plans, so that if the county had a plan to do a rescue center, the rescue center can't be built twice. It can only be built once. So build the rescue center and partner with us so that we can be able to run the rescue center together. But if you're not at the planning table, then we are running parallel processes. And when we run parallel processes, it becomes very difficult to provide measurable services to the citizens. So I would kindly like to invite us to engage with county government very constructively, because that is the space through which we can be able to provide optimum protection to the children. When we have also data, because you are the ones who collect a lot of data, when we have adequate data, this helps us to facilitate planning and resource allocation for stakeholders. Our budget will be presented, the country budget will be presented on 30th June. County budgets were already finalized by 30th of April. If you look at the CARA, which is being debated right now in the Senate, CARA is the County Allocation of Revenue Act, being debated right now in the Senate. Go through that CARA and ask and see whether you will see any line written child protection. If we don't see it, we indict ourselves. Because when we are planning, when the plans are going on in the country and we are appropriating resources that we have as Kenya, where are we as the people who work with children? So if we are the ones who work with children, can't be at that table, we are the ones who have to be at that table. So the Senate is debating the CARA. I would like to challenge each one of us to engage in that particular debate and ask, where are the resources meant for child protection that are going to the counties? Because the counties are meant to provide child protection. But if there are no resources going to the counties, what you don't budget for, you cannot implement. Equally, county governments will continue to ensure child advocacy institutions are involved in the public participation fora during the budget making process. We try our level best. This will promote development of child-sensitive budgets. I therefore call upon us for closer collaboration of all actors at all levels, both the national and county governments and development partners and NGOs on matters of childcare and child protection through consultation and cooperation. As I end, I would like to say that this is a very broad topic. Talk about what counties have done, the synergy. It is quite wide, and therefore it's not possible that I could do justice to it in 20 minutes. So I said I'll just share a few thoughts as I see it. So I know that I have not done justice to it, but mine was not to present a thesis or a research, because I wasn't asked to do so, but to invite you to reach out to the county governments where you are situated and improve the promotion and protection of children's rights. We cannot continue working in parallel, as I said. We need to be in the core and at the center of planning and at the center of ensuring that our annual work plans within the counties reflect child protection and that there are resources that are set aside for that purpose. Again, maybe we need to rethink whether county governments need to have a bigger role in managing the infrastructure of our primary and secondary schools, because if you go around the country, actually the beacon, beautiful building that you will see standing in primary schools is the ECD building. If what I see in the media and when I visit counties is anything to go by, then a dialogue around this issue is eminently important. When a roof is blown off, when the rain has come and it's seeping through the roofs, the first person who is reached out to is the governor. And despite the fact that the governor does not have resources to build or to repair roofs that have been blown off in primary and secondary schools, he has no choice, or she has no choice but to do it. And so it means that the resources that were meant to build a hospital have now to be diverted to go and build the roof. So I would like to urge us to all rethink and clearly ask ourselves, how do you want these two levels of government to work together to ensure that children are protected in the school and they're also protected outside the school? On the question on why counties are concentrating on adults and not children, I think I have answered it in my talk, that if you looked at the fourth schedule of the Constitution, we were only given the role of managing children in early primary school, early childhood, and then of course the county youth polytechnic. And not wanting to blow our own trumpet, I think we are doing a good job. There's room for improvement, and that's why we are saying, let us partner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think she's done some justice to that topic. She's given us the way forward, how the county is working. And I know we have many questions which I'll be asking now. For me, what I took in is that she emphasized that the county government is not in their mandate to do child safety. However, being human beings and being the closest to the people, to the citizens, they are doing something small to at least help in facilitating, especially in areas of rescue centers, where we've been informed about how the first ladies have taken this as one of their projects. And at this point, I would like to recognize again the first ladies who are here today. The first lady from Homa Bay, maybe you can just lift up your hand. She was there yesterday. You can see the passion. We have a first lady from West Pokot also. She's here. We have the first lady from Kajiado. We have the first lady from Kajiado. You should have been sitting, William. You need to sit at the right place. And remember, yesterday we had the first lady from Makueni. She had to go back to the county, but she'll be with us tomorrow. So you can see the passion they have. And I think when you talk of partnerships, they're here to try and get these people to partner with the counties and themselves to see how they can move in. The other thing is about data. I think from yesterday's presentation, the one I've seen from today, we've seen there's a lot of data being done on the various aspects of childcare. And I think now what she's challenging us is to make sure that data is available. And as we give that data, we need to engage the county government in the planning process, budgeting process, laws, what's called public participation. I think that was the emphasis. And finally, she concluded by asking us to partner each other, both the county, national, and even our organizations, to see how we can improve on this, our agenda to protect our children and help them have a good living standard and environment. Thank you very much. Really, very, very good presentation. I would like to move to the next presentation. And our next presenter is Timothy Ekesa, who is the CEO of Kenya Alliance of Advancement of Children. He'll give us a keynote address also on the same topic, and he'll give us his what his perspective is, and then from there we'll be able to hear. Timothy, the floor is yours.
I also don't know who is here. Good morning. But is Asugui. But is our daughter. I want to thank I congratulate the first ladies who are here, the organizers of this meeting, ASIC, and the members who are here, my fellow presenters who are here. Feel so privileged to be here to speak to you. It's difficult to speak after Dr. Mugo, who's done a lot of work on children, and Jacqueline, who is formerly from our sector. I hope you know that. She used to work for children before she went to this place. And she's my former classmate somewhere in Nairobi, so I know her very well. So I only have 20 minutes, and I'll try to live within the 20 minutes. I have about 10 slides to present. But after Jacqueline speaking, I felt like I wish you gave me a topic to talk about what we are doing with the counties as NGOs. Because we're just one of the first countries, the first organizations who are doing a lot of work with the counties. Some of the best things she's talking about, we were a part of them. But I was given a topic to talk about so I was supposed to talk about policies, formulation, the synergies between policies, formulation, and implementation on childcare. And I tried to be a good student. I looked at the experiences, the challenges, and the opportunities, so that we can be able to go through. I'll not give a lot of figures in the presentation, but rather I'll be able to share some of the experiences we've done as an organization, because we've done work for quite some time in this area of policy. Where am I pointing? Yeah, not there. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, good. Okay, thank you. Thank you for helping me to point. So basically, first of all, I want to say we collaborate with the Reverend. We are in some partnership that we are working with. So I'm not here as a stranger, but as an organization who collaborate, and we have the same partnership we're working with on children. Basically, I just wanted to give a brief of our organization, Kenya Alliance for Advancement of Children. We are a national child rights organization, which was started by about 15 organizations, women, youth, and children organizations some time back, 1988. And we are a legal entity, we've been registered, and we are a membership organization. Right now, we have about 22 networks across the 22 counties that we work with in the country, out of the 48 counties. And there's a lot that we can share about that. I'm sure some of you belong to those networks, but if you don't know, in every county we have what we call County Child Rights Network, which is made up of organizations working for children. We also have ECOSOC status, Economic and Social Council of the UN, from the year 2000, which means we inform the UN on some of the children issues that take place in this country. And recently we also got some equivalence determination certification from NGOs, which I'll not talk more about, but the most important thing that we also have observer status with the Africa Committee on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, which means that we can also be able to influence some of the AU decisions that are taking place, and we are a member of the Global Partnership to End Violence Against Children, and the Global Partnership for Children. I'll not talk more about that. So when I was doing this presentation, I decided to say, I know you've done this, but just to ask ourselves, what do we mean by synergy? Because I'm talking about synergy. The three of us have been talking about synergy. And it's about interaction. And that's what we are saying. How do we interact, all of us together? How do we cooperate among the groups that we have? I know ASIC is a big body, but how do we work together? Policy formulation. What I thought about policy formulation, the most important thing was about the effectiveness and acceptability. If you're talking about the policies we're working on, are they effective? Are they acceptable? And the implementation itself, we are talking about, are they being executed? We are blamed for this country for having so many policies, but we don't execute them. So we are asking ourselves, do we have policies on children, and do we execute them? And when I thought about that, I tried to look at some of the policies in childcare. There are so many, maybe I'll require 3 days to talk about them. But just to browse your mind, to tell you there are so many policies at the global level, at the Africa regional level, at the Kenya level, at the county level. There are many policies that have been done, and I'm sure Jacqueline could share some of them with you if she had time. But the most important policy we have on childcare, we all know the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, which is the biggest document that we use for issues of child rights in this country. Then we also know about the Bill of Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the International Covenant on Economic and Social-Cultural Rights of 1996. It provides rights which also touch on children. But the most important instrument which we use all over, which has now been signed by all countries of the world, except the US, even Somalia have done it, is the UNCRC. We know it very well, we use it every day. I'm not speaking to people who are new. because you know about the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. Then the African Charter on the Rights of the Welfare of the Child, which brings in an perspective of child care and child protection with 5 different articles that are not found in the 54 articles of the UNCRC. Apart from that, we also know that specifically on issues of protection, we have 3 optional protocols of the CRC, which again provide a legal framework for children. The one on armed conflict, the second one on sexual exploitation of children, and the third one, which is the recent one, on communication procedure, which is not yet implemented by many. But our Kenya country, you can ask the government how many of the protocols we've signed. I think only 1 out of the 3. And then on disability issues, we also know that the UN has the UN Convention on Persons with Disabilities, which has got specific aspects of children that protect them also. And again, I just urge you to Google them, because all these things are online. You can be able to get them and work with them. Locally, we have the Children's Act. And I'm sure we know the Children's Act. That is what is guiding us. We know that we are writing that Children's Act. There's a process which started of putting up a new act from the year 2005. We are still writing it. It's still a draft. And I'm not shocked, Reverend, you are smiling, because those of you who can remember the current Children's Act, when did the process of writing that act start? 1979. So welcome to the world, because we don't prioritize the children. The most important aspect that we've done on policies for children was the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The Article 50, everybody should be saying that because you read that Constitution. Article 50 what? Another lawyer in an interview last week told me Article 23. A lawyer, exactly. And I went to law school. And I'm not a lawyer, by the way. I'm not a lawyer by training. So I was so shocked. That article is very important because it talks about the best interest of the child, and Article 260 defines who a child is. We all know that before that the Constitution we have right now, somebody like a child was never defined. We only had 18 and above Kenyans. Anything below, they were not Kenyans. So we are very happy about the Constitution. Then down we have the National Children's Policy, which is a combined policy of all other issues of children that have been put together. The National Early Childhood Policy. There are many policies. I just try to point out a few that we think we need to work with. The gender policy in education, which I'm sure Dr. Mugo talked about. All these policies make a lot of difference. I've just tried to take a snippet of them. There are many others. There are concluding observations. There are other general comments on various issues of children, which all of us need to look at. So the framework is big. But when we have all these policies, do they mean anything to us? Do they mean anything to us? Somebody said knowledge is not power. Or you say knowledge is power. But now somebody told me knowledge is not power. The implementation of that knowledge is the power. Okay? Am I changing some of the things you've heard about? Please, only for today, you can go back and say knowledge is power. But I think for me, for this workshop, I'm telling you, I'm talking about implementation of policies. The implementation of those policies is what? Is the power. Then somebody also said it's not important to have a sound idea, but the really important thing is to do what? To implement it. And actually that has been one of our biggest areas that we've had in this country. That we've had policies, I have mentioned to you all just a few of the policies, but we ask ourselves, do we actually use those policies? Do we put them to use? Now, what has been our experience on these policies? What we realized as an organization, I've told you, we've done issues of child rights from 1988, me from 1995. What has really helped us on issues of policy implementation is that if we uphold the principles of the CRC, then we get good policies. What are the principles of the CRC? Again, that can be another workshop for another day. But I know there are 4 articles which are very important that form up the general principles of the CRC. The first one being the best interest of the child. Are we doing everything in the best interest of the child? Article 3. That's the question we're asking ourselves. If we did everything in the best interest of the child, and I'll be giving you a small quote down here, which you can be able to look, then you ask yourself, then maybe we're helping the children. Then also if we avoid non-discrimination, which is a key principle in our constitution, but the second article of the CRC, the first one is defining who a child is, the second one is about non-discrimination. We are asking ourselves, are we upholding non-discrimination? Are we looking at children as a child before you see the child as a child with a disability or a child without hands, or a child from Northeastern, or a child from Kisumu, or are we seeing the baby? Okay? That's the question we're asking ourselves. Once we do that, we'll get good policies. The most important part, and why I love most, child's opinion, child participation. How are we working with children? Are we ensuring that whatever issues we are bringing up in this workshop, actually children have had an opinion in them? And how do children give their opinion? I think that's the biggest challenge we have. We don't know how children can give their opinion. And they rely on us. Actually, we are the ones who are supposed to learn how children can give opinions. But we assume we know. But in most cases, we don't. Then the last one is life and survival. We are simply saying that everything is being done is to ensure that the child lives and survives. The second important thing is that there is need to balance between policy formulation and policy practice. The policy formulation and policy practice. We are asking ourselves, where do they meet? Where does the practice meet the policy? Where do they meet? And that has been a big challenge for us in this country. I'll be sharing it as one of the challenges so that we can ask ourselves, how do we relate with the whole issue of practice in the field and the policy itself that we put out? Then collaboration between CSOs and government on child-focused departments leads to proper formulation and implementation. Basically what I mean here is that in Kenya, why we got the Children's Act, it is because of the collaboration between NGOs and government. And those of you who are there remember the war we had. We had an act which was not very good. The NGOs took over with the now a senator who was the AG, and they gave it to us and said, make the law. The children's law actually was made by the CSOs. And some of the people who made the laws, who actually did the last drafting, we all know them, Justice J.B. Ojwang, we know Honorable Mheshimiwa who? Rachel Mamo, and Vicky Katambo. They're the three guys who sat in this multimedia university, actually for 3 weeks to put that act together. And the act now, we're enjoying it, we're now reviewing it to see how we can be able to be in line with the Constitution. Influencing policy decision-making bodies leads to proper policy formulation. Policy decision, influencing policy decision-making bodies. Which policies make policies? We are talking about parliament. Right now we are talking about the devolved governments. How can we be able to reach to them? How can we be able to influence them? How many of us actually identify with our policy leaders, our political leaders? How many of us identify with them? How many of us identify with our MCAs? How many of us identify with them as workers, not as only asking to vote for them or because they are a relative of ours? How do we identify with them on children issues? If I'll have time, I'll give you an example of one of the best MCAs, what they have done, and one of the worst MCAs in this country, what they have done on children issues. If you remind me, if I have 1 minute to tell you. Then we are saying children's voices are vital in policy formulation. Child participation cannot be underrated. We've done it so well. We all know about the KCA. Do we know the Kenya Children Assembly? I'm here only hearing 3 voices. Do we know we have a junior government in Kenya? You know we have the children's government. Another one is by Capture, is called what? There are several. There are the 3 children governments in this country. We all know that. We are simply saying, how are we using them? So do we know who the president of the children currently is? Anybody from Kilifi here? Anybody from Kilifi? Just raise your hand. I'll not ask you a hard question. And you don't know who the president of children is? Jeremiah, thank you. Do we know who the first president was? Do we know who the first president was? Anybody from Taita Taveta? No, Taita Taveta. It was actually a girl. The first children president was a lady. So don't think ladies have not been presidents. Yeah, there's a girl from Taveta. And the second president was from where? Can I hear anybody saying, if they know it? From Kisumu. Kisumu has had a president. So don't think we've not had a president before. The second president, and actually he was elected here by IEBC. So don't think it is a joke. We do it in a serious business. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, it involved me and I learn. We're simply saying we need to involve the children themselves so that they can be able to, as we do the policies make sense to them. What opportunities do we have? The first opportunity is the Constitution of Kenya. That Article 53 and Article 260. is an opportunity because that's the mother law of this country. It gives us a basis to do all the work we want. Even if Jacqueline tells you that children are not devolved, that constitution tells you that children are covered. And for me, I keep on asking, and Jacqueline is here today, let me ask you people, are women devolved? Are women devolved? Are men devolved? Are youth devolved? Don't counties do programs for them? But now when it comes to children, they are not devolved. So children are not Kenyans? I'm wondering, how does a child of Wajir, I go to Wajir, there's a school called Wargadud, one of my best schools. That child in Wargadud, how is that child a national child? Does that child belong to be serviced from Nairobi from KICD? Am I supposed to be cared for by the county government that is there? That's the question that maybe we might need to ask as we go on. We're simply saying there's abundant childcare policies in Kenya. I just mentioned to you a few. I didn't go to the CCA regulations. I didn't go to down many laws that we have for children. We have so many of them. Are we making use of them? Did I say knowledge is not power? I said knowledge is not power. Knowledge is what? Huh? Thank you for being good students. Ongoing review of the Children's Act. They're actually writing the Children's Act. It's an opportunity. How many of us have been involved in the writing of the Children's Act? They went to every county. Again, a few hands. The same thing Jacqueline was asking. We don't go for public participation, yet we complain. Once that law comes up with surrogacy, it comes up with some funny things that when they put in, again we'll start complaining. The Children's Act is not good. Why are we complaining? Concluding observations from the periodic reports. I'm sure you know that Kenya being a member state part of the AU and of the UN, we make periodic reports. Those periodic reports, once we've met, the country has met them, and NGOs also make their reports. They are concluding observations. There are particular things the country is asked to do. We have an opportunity as a childcare organizations to look at what did the government promise to do and hold somebody accountable. I can give you an example. In 2006, when we had the Minister for Children, actually the highest minister we had for children in this country, was the minister in charge of what? Kenyans. Are you Kenyans? The only time we made a lot of progress on children issues is when children were in the office of who? The Vice President. When they were put together the prisoners. Okay? Home Affairs. But our minister was the Vice President. That is the only time we made a lot of progress in this country. And I say that without fear or contradiction. Even if I ask you right now, who is our Minister for Children? Have you heard him talking anything about a child? What is he talking about? Labor. And labor talks about the whole country. And before that, which minister did we have? Which minister did we have? Did she appear in any children event?
No.
And she's a policy leader for issues of children. Before that, we had another minister. You remember her? Muruki was very good. No, Kazungu Kambi. From Kilifi again. But before that, we had another one called Dr. Naomi. She never attended a single children event. Half of the population of this country. So at the time when we had children issues being high on the agenda, the Vice President was in Geneva. And we had not signed the second optional protocol. And he made an undertaking that within 1 year, that is 2007, we'll have signed the optional protocol on the sale and trafficking of children. He actually, and it's in the concluding observation of that report. You know, up to now we've not signed it. Who is supposed to hold the government accountable? Us. Do we know we have another concluding observation of the report that was presented in 2016? We don't know. We're in child care. Or are we, what are we talking about? Which care are we having? Is it some different care? We're talking about policies, so there's no way we can do child care without policies, okay? Right now, Kenya is preparing its second state party report to the African Charter on the Rights of the Committee of the Child. We all know that. They are concluding observation. They're in Mombasa for about 9 days, 11 days. I'm wondering whether we are represented in this place. We're also saying devolved units of government are an opportunity. I can tell you for free, for some of us, we started working with the county government in the last government. And a good example I can give you, we were struggling. Anybody from Busia County? Busia County. You have a child protection center? Yeah, that child protection center, we are struggling to get 100,000 shillings to buy land to put up a child protection center. But thank God for the county government. When it came in place, the officer who was in charge at that time, Mr. Maungu, we actually worked with him as NGOs, and we became part of the county planning. Part of the county budget. Mr. Maungu is here? Yes. Where is he? He's right here. Mr. Maungu, I've not seen you. I should not be talking about this. Because if he's here, let me keep quiet. He'll tell you the rest of the story. How much we managed to benefit from the county, but now he's in Transoya. You are no longer in Busia. After you got 70 million for the child protection center, you moved away. Child-friendly political leaders. We need to see how we can work with our child-friendly political leaders. I know you're in Transoya and you refused to pick my call the other day. Yeah, I know all of them. My colleagues, we work with them. They are child-friendly political leaders we can be able to work with. There are people from this sector who have joined government, yes or no? People who are people like Makina Jacqueline, who left us and we are now there in government. Can we make use of them? Although she's difficult to get, because we know, I know how it's difficult to get. You are lucky to see, if you can shake her hand today, you are lucky. We have people like Honorable Milio Diambo, who came from the sector, we know that. Honorable Sophia Abdi, we know Sophia Abdi? Yes or no? Yes. Dr. Nikal, who managed to save for us 1.2 billion in the last two governments. Did you know that? That money was going to go to a single entity, money for OBC. It is Dr. Nikal who stood down and said, we want this money back to the children. So we have those friendly people. I can see this guy is standing up, he wants me to sit down. Welcoming institutions of higher learning. Now a number of universities, now they are starting what we call child development. There is a university, which other one is here? Strathmore University, Nairobi University. There are those opportunities we can make use of, but again it's a challenge. I'll be sharing with the challenge. The global initiative on children, which most of you are members. So maybe I just wanted to share a few things. I'll not mention them, but you can read them on your own. But we are saying we have the responsibility to mold children. What challenges do we have? As I finish, slow implementation of childcare policies. We are simply saying that there is slow, actually none or slow implementation of childcare policy. Do we all know that we did a violence against study, a VAC study in 2010? Do you know we did that study? Violence against children study by the government. UNICEF is here. UNICEF did that. And do you know that we developed what we call violence against study response plan for 2014-2018. That response plan actually is about to be reviewed, but we've not even implemented a single bit of that response plan. Rod, am I speaking the truth? So you know there's a response plan. And people are we are talking about policies and people are not telling me they know the response plan. UNICEF is working on the next study, violence against study children. Actually right now they are trying to contract to get somebody to do that work. We are simply saying there is slow. And this happens. The National Plan of Action, there's a time it was the National Plan of Action for 2008-2012 was actually being launched in 2012. We launched it in 2012 when it was ending. So we are saying there is slow. At times we come up with good things that we don't use. Lack of clear linkages between childcare practitioners and institutions of higher learning. Those of you who have been in the children sector like me, when we get these graduates of development, they have done development studies, we again train them. It's like we take them through another school. Simply what I'm meaning, if there are any learning institutions here, Desta is here? Desta is here. Thank you, Desta. I work a lot with the Roslyn Olumbe. You are here. Whatever people you bring us, they actually don't know anything on childcare. I don't know what you are teaching them. Basically what I mean, there is need for practice and research to have a link. In that, can you be able to make use of this institution like ASIC and CAC and the rest to develop your programs? There is a mismatch between what you are teaching and what's out here in the field. That's why we need to see more of you here. I can give you, and we have got so many theories we've not tested. I'm sure the universities can do research about it and test them. And Doctor, you are here.
I think you can identify with what I'm talking about. Okay? Then we are saying there is a lot of dichotomy. I talked about this between policy and practice in this country, and there's lack of adequate research to test the theories that we are working with. We've done great things in this country, but they're not documented. Raising Voices Uganda, they are doing something very little in Uganda, but they are partnered with a university in the US and UK. They have tested their theory, and it's one of the biggest things in the world. Why can't the Daystars, the Strathmore also do that? We have good practices, but they're only known to us. Finally, law or lack of prioritization of children matters. I talked about this. Which ministry, where the children are matters. And it's a very big challenge. You cannot put children together with somebody who is dealing with all the workers of this country. So as childcare organizations, can we lobby to raise the level, actually the issues of children to a higher ministry? Rather than, I'm not saying the ministry we are is bad, but if we got a higher ministry, it will make a lot of sense, and we'll have a lot of clout, we'll have a lot of work to do than what we are doing right now. Why we are suffering is because of where the children are. Children are the living messages we send to a time we will not see. That's again by JFK Kennedy. I looked at what he was talking about. Children are the living messages we send to a time we will not see. So as childcare workers, can we be able to ensure that we work on these messages properly? And the only way we can do it, we cannot do without policy. You can do very good work in your small village, in your kitongojini, but if you really don't touch the lives of children, if you don't put them together, the policies will not go anywhere. I'm finishing by sharing a small story about two MCAs. One MCA, will I start with a good one or a bad one? Which one should I start with? A bad one? Okay, a bad one is an MCA who actually employed his farm. He took his farm and child to school, a daughter from one. Okay? Kumsaidia na anamlipia fees. Then what did the MCA do? Defiled her. And then the girl got pregnant. Okay? Then the MCA helped the girl to do abortion. Then the NGOs got to hear about it. They took up the case to court. Then the MCA followed everything, and the girl became 21 years. And again sued her for doing what? For doing an abortion, and took her to a women's prison. Okay? You can imagine, that's what an MCA did. And finally the NGOs stood their ground up to the national level. What happened as we speak right now? Actually, the MCA was protected by the member of parliament. He was protected by the governor. Everybody who was around, the prosecutors protected him because we don't want to defile our name. The NGOs were threatened. They were even given money to drop the case. They refused. But as we speak right now, that MCA lost his seat. That member of parliament lost his seat. That governor lost his seat. Can you see the power of the children? Yes. We can change. The case is still going on, but all those guys lost their seats. I don't want to tell you which county because you know. Because you know who the governor is. He was replaced by my classmate somewhere. Okay? A good MCA. I go to this meeting, taking visitors around, and I'm going to look at what the children have done in a school. And one of the people who are there is an MCA. He tells me, hey, Tim, you worked with us when we were in primary. It's not because I'm old. He's the one who is young. Okay? You worked with us when I was a child in primary school. And what you taught us, what you put in us, it really helped me to be who I am right now. I'm now a member of county assembly. Doing great work for children, for all the ward I'm working in. I'm buying uniform, I'm renovating schools to make sure everything is good for them. Then come the last election, this party, this nice party, they refused to nominate him because he's too radical. They say you cannot win, let's look for somebody else. He runs as an independent candidate. That guy becomes an MCA again right now. It's an MCA because of children. Okay? So for me, I keep on telling people, children have got a lot of power. They can actually make you or break you. They broke the MCA and the member of parliament, who is, I don't want to tell you who is what, and our governor. But there's another section of an MCA who is now an independent candidate, individual, as an MCA right now as we speak. I can even mention his name because I know he comes from near where Nani comes from. He's doing very well because of the work he has done for children. Let us do something for the children and send a message that we'll be able to come and see. Thank you very much, and sorry for going over.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause. That was a very, very good presentation. I'd like to ask my other presenters to come up, please, so that we can have the plenary. Yes, from Timothy, he was very passionate. You could tell from his presentation. He told us a lot of things, but what I took away from his presentation was that there are very many policies and no implementation. In fact, he came up with this analogy that says, we always say knowledge is power, but he said knowledge is not power. The power is in, which I think is a very good one. I'll be carrying it from today. That's what I'll be using. Thank you very much. Then he asked us another question. We are all talking about public participation, which he challenged us, just like we've been told by Jacqueline. But he challenged us. What about the public participation of the children? How do we know we're doing the right thing for the children? We asked them. And he asked us a very simple thing. I was thinking, how do I go ask my small baby whether they like the ECG or not? You know, it doesn't matter. But there are many ways I think we can know it. And I think Jacqueline told us that if you see the children in nursery school refusing to go to standard 1, that is already a message, isn't it? It means we have to improve on all these things. But he also asked us, are we engaging the junior government? In fact, I was shocked because one of the former junior students when I was growing up, he's a friend of mine, and I was thinking, I've never asked him who took over after him or where that thing is right now. And I was challenged, and I think when I go back to the office or when I'm seated there, I'll do some Googling just to update myself. I think that's the challenge that we have, that as much as we're engaging children, we're working for children, we need to engage them. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the plenary session. I hope the ushers, William, are we ready? So we can take some questions. I'll propose we take 3 questions to begin with, and then we see how that goes. Any questions, please? Maybe what I'll do is that we just put up your hands. Who wants to ask a question? Then I can plan it. Just keep your hand very high. We have 1 there, 2 here, and 3 there. We can start with those 3. Let's have the gentleman on this end. Okay, let's have the lady there. Then they'll note the questions.
Good morning. My question is to Mrs. Jacqueline Mukeni. I totally agree with you about the preschool owned by the city council. Yeah? Even my own children are beneficiaries from those schools as the facilities are really good. However, I have a concern now with the free preschool education. Those preschool children who learn in the city council schools, yes, they can share the meal with the primary kids and benefit also from the World Food Program. But with the budget that is allocated to the ECD children of 3,000 shillings per year and a meal of 10 bob per day, those children who learn in the day nurseries, an average day nursery has 75 to 100 children. How does a school pay meals, the firewood or the charcoal, and the cook and buy the water with only 750 shillings per day? Or are these children going to school from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon and have a banana for lunch? Thank you.
A good question. We have the gentleman on this side. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Frederick Suya. Living with disability but able differently. My question goes to Jacqueline Mugeni. Now that the government has, the education is developed, now there are cases where you find a teacher in ECT is employed to man an ECT class with disability when she is not KISI compliant. That's one question. 2, what is the government doing in terms of special schools, special units in terms of funding? Thank you.
A good one. Then we have 1 question to somewhere here. Yes, the gentleman here at the front.
Thank you. Mine is to Dr. Mugo. I was touched by the explanation you gave about having been 82 in a class and only 2 of you were able to complete. And for me, that is an indication that education is quite tortuous. How then do we make sure that the model that you're talking about to empower youth with their capabilities, the model that you did represent, how do we get children who are out of school into school without necessarily subjecting them to the education process? How do we achieve that? Thank you.
Maybe you could introduce yourself?
I'm John Odinya from the Children's Department.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can start with those, we can start with Dr. Mugo, the last one, because no Jack can help quite a few.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Certainly we have a big challenge of either those people that never joined school and are now youth, or those that joined school and dropped off primary, those that even finished primary but never went to secondary school, or even dropped off secondary. So when you accumulate all this, those that never joined, those that dropped off primary, completed primary, it's actually a larger number than those that have secondary school completion. So that's a real challenge for TVET. But the opportunity there is that we have vocational training centers, and I'm glad Jacqueline is here, because many of those vocational training centers are not requiring that you have a certificate for you to enter. Of course, you need a KCP certificate for you to sit for a NITA grade test. But you see, also for you to have a skill, you must not have a certificate. What you need is a skill to start with. So first of all, we need to educate our youth, enlighten them that these opportunities are there. Of course, there are issues first on how TVET is viewed as that place for failures. We have struggles, Jacqueline, because we are wondering, for instance, why those institutions must have uniform. Because the reason why I've been conversing with youth, why they feel that place is not desirable, is because they'll go, and when they are coming home, they are not differentiated with the primary school children. They are all in uniform. And yes, others are saying, me, I finished the Form 4, my counterparts who went to university don't put on uniform, so I am 20 years old, why must I put on uniform? I mean, so there are these small issues that need to be tackled. Of course, the quality of training also needs to improve, but also aspects of cost. I am hoping in my heart that this bill that is being discussed of funding county government, that money can increase so that also the quality of training can improve, and these places can be that place where youth are gaining skills to thrive in life. So we are hoping that will improve with time. But the question of how do you get now this, let's say 16-year-old who had dropped off from standard 4 to go back to school and still pursue their dream of one time ending up in the university. I think that is a real challenge. But the good thing is that now we have the realization that what is important is not papers, it is actually acquiring competences. And this is the movement of the new curriculum from a content orientation to a competence orientation. But schools actually need to change, because what ought to happen is that this 16-year-old ought to get into an accelerated learning program, so that they are put in, if their age mates are in standard 6 or in standard 7, rather than taking them to standard 1, they should be taken to standard 7. Because life is not all about academics. It's also about social, it's about psychological, it's about physical. And while they're in standard 7, we ensure that we accelerate them. We are pulling them in and out of class so that they are able to catch up. And within 2 to 3 years, they can sit for their KCPE. So these opportunities, I think, need to be there, and these discussions, I have had them. So it is my hope that these people who are out there can be accommodated by the system. And through the Kenya National Qualifications Framework, then there is equivalency so that you can move in and out of the different systems. You can move from TVET, go to the university, come back to TVET, and so on and so forth.
I wanted to say something.
government, so let me not speak. I just wanted to make a comment on what you raised about the ECD schools. And just give an example, we work with 5 counties, Mombasa, Kwale, Kakamega, and Wajir, and Siaya. And what happened is that, like the nice building she's talking about, the NGOs were really involved. Because most of the MCAs just thought the only thing they need to do is put up a structure, a 4-wall thing. But it was our role to work with them so that they can be able to put up a child-friendly structure. And that's our role. These people in the counties are not experts on children. We are the experts on children. So some of the issues you are raising here, it is actually us who are supposed to work with our counties so that as they get those resources, even lobby for some of those resources to be allocated to children. Like for Kakamega County, we managed to lobby for 2 million for education to children to be given under the wards. It is actually us who did the lobbying. So I'm just saying that we have a role to play as much as we expect the government to do, even if it's an ECD center that is friendly to a child with disability. It is up to us to actually tell them this is how you should construct it, because most of them didn't know. And one of the best ECDs actually is in Kakamega, I think in Lurambi. It's a showcase of how the MCA was so proud of it on how they put it up. Then on feeding program, again, when this Maziwa ya Joho started in Mombasa, we saw it as a very good idea, but we told them, let us have a policy on it, so that it doesn't just remain to be a Joho milk thing, so that when Joho goes, the milk goes away. Can we be able to ensure it's a policy? That's why we came up with a policy, county policy on school feeding, school milk. And again, we say it's not just only for ECD. Let it be to up to class 3 children, so that the children in class 3 can also be able to get milk. And we came up with a childcare policy, which is also a childcare action policy, which is in Mombasa. So I'm just saying that as NGOs, we have a role to play. Let's not just wait for the counties to do things. Let us come and work with them. It doesn't mean we get challenges. Bungoma County allocated 300 million towards children on the street and the rest. But because the NGOs we didn't work very well, that money was reallocated at the end of the year to take care of the travels and other things. Kakamega County, they allocated 500,000 for child participation. But because the NGOs did not come out and tell them, how do we ensure we involve children, the child governor and the rest in this process, the money again disappeared somewhere. So we have a big role to play on childcare when it comes to policy issues. Thank you.
You'll allow me to stand. Government will not publicity. Now, thank you very much. I'll just quickly start maybe with the last point that Tim has said. Indeed, it's important that we get involved. And how do we get involved? Please learn about the planning cycle of government so that you get involved from the word go. We'll be starting the budget making process for 2019-20. Immediately we read this budget, we start. So please get involved, the fiscal strategy paper get involved, the budget policy statement get involved. If you don't have that information, we can send to somebody, one of your people, so that they can share with you. Because Tim told us knowledge is not power. You said which one is power? Implementation of the knowledge. So we'll give you the knowledge so that now you become powerful in implementing it. So I'll send to somebody that information because it's really, really important that actually, as Tim said, I came from the civil society. That's my background. And I realized that with coming in of county government, civil society organizations had to rethink how they engage on matters. Governments are now closer to the people. They're the ones charged with the responsibility to give services, provide services. It's not non-governmental organizations. Our role as non-governmental organizations is to partner with them and complement. And so let us strengthen them. I heard Tim saying that let us lobby for a minister. And I wondered, he kept saying that county governments are the ones who are closer. Now again, you are lobbying for a minister at national level. Why don't you lobby for a minister for children at counties? 47 ministers dealing with children. That is more practical than having one person at national government. And by the way, the role of national government is to make policy and laws and guidelines. The role of county government is to deliver services. So that is where most of the money should go. So please lobby to have 47 ministers dealing with children with adequate budgets. So that we are not looking at this one person. We are looking at 47 different people, so that children are serviced in 47 different locations. Make it your passion. So that in this, the next 5 years, I know we are left with 3.5. You know that the last year is politicking, it's not working anything. So there's no time. You have 3.5 years. So try and see if each county government can, even if they don't get you a fully-fledged minister, they can give you a CEO, a county officer, if you know their titles. I will not ask you like, Tim, do you know, so that I don't embarrass you. So county officers are like, chief officers are like PSs, the permanent secretaries. So please lobby so that we can have a chief officer in charge of children. Under the docket of gender, youth, sport is a very big one also in the counties. Having said that, I'm happy that Mungo brought up the issue of the Tibet, the bill that is now being debated in Senate and of course National Assembly. Please get involved also. A lot of the times it's the county government, the Council of Governors, that actually appears. In fact, the MCAs never appear before the Senate to say allocate more resources. Could I please have you as our recruits and supporters so that you also go and appear and say the same thing? We can share with you our memoranda on what the proposals we have made as the Council of Governors. Build on to that so that you can go and say allocate more resources. Last financial year, county governments were allocated only 2 billion as a computation for TVETs. So can you divide 2 billion with 47? That will tell you how much, and that will tell you what needs to be done in terms of TVET. As for early childhood, they usually allocated 17 million for a whole year. So you can imagine, so the counties have to really think through, what do I sacrifice here? How do I get in this? How do I even hire the teachers? So the question that was asked by the first person, the allocation, it has nothing to do with us as county governments. It has something to do with the division of revenue between the two levels of government. We have a budget of 2.1 trillion. County governments have only gotten 370 billion. Of that, there's about 50 or so that is conditional grants that are going specifically to hospitals and stuff. So basically, we only have about 317. 47 county governments with about 14 functions that if you split them, there are about 48 of them. So if you divided that, you can now know what is going to the counties. The only way we can help each other as Kenyans is that we get involved in the debate about resource allocation so that we have enough resources going to county government so that they can be able to deliver services. Because the bulk of the services is with the county government. So if we don't have adequate resources, we will always come to forums like this and ask those questions. What will 750 do? And the governor will respond and say, where do I get more resources? Because that is the reality they are working in. So help us so that we can be able to allocate enough resources. A teacher manning ECD with no skills of children or with disability, yes, that is a very important question and it's an important issue that we need to point out. We'll certainly have to point it out with our with our CCs in charge of education. But please also note that this function was given to us and the people who train the ECD teachers are TSC. The aspect of training is TSC. So when the function came to us, we just hired anybody. Can you take care of children? Come. So we hired everybody. So right now what we are doing, we are deliberately sending them for training. In the new scheme that we developed, and we involved a lot of people who work with ECD. Tim, I think were you called? So we involved a lot of NGOs, but also of course government, because government to government, to develop the scheme of service. And so that scheme of service, when we developed it, it is impossible to implement because of the salaries and the monies that we have. So everybody is wondering, okay, now if you implement it, where will we get money to pay? So we are seeing how best we can be able to train, because these people have done a good job for 5 years. Indeed, they don't have the skills, but at least you see the children don't want to go to class 1 because our centers are very good. So they've done a good job, but we are trying to train them so that we enhance their skills as they continue. So because it's unfair to say go home, then we hire others. So that's what we are doing. And then what are we doing about special schools? If it's ECD, at least I've answered. If it is from primary school, you know that that's not our function. That is the function of national government. And as Tim said, is it that we devolve women or children or men? We didn't devolve people, we devolved functions. So we should also read the constitution so that we understand what was devolved. So we devolved functions, and so in those functions, you'll find that some of them relate to children. So the function that relates to children that we were given is ECD. And then we were also given a function of TVET. And sometimes we have children in TVET because they've dropped out of school, as Dr. Mugo said. And so Dr. Muga will take up that issue of viewers of uniform because it's not a county issue. It's a practice we inherited. So we'll try and address it also slowly, because even students who go to train in TTCs wear a uniform. So we'll try and also help them to understand that it's not us who said uniform. In fact, we'll be very happy if they don't wear uniform. But you see, that is the national government policy and guideline, and ours is to implement. And then, sorry, I actually forgot, I had written here that I need to first and foremost recognize the first ladies present. I didn't know you were present, first ladies. So I would like to salute you for actually sitting through and just to listen to speak. And as I said, I'm glad I didn't know you were here. So when I was making my presentation, I was not doing it because you were here, so I hadn't known. But the truth of the matter is, first ladies are doing a lot in terms of linking with children and ensuring safety. In fact, I say they deal a lot with the soft belly issues, which are not in the limelight. And so if I was to advocate for any support, please support the offices of the county first ladies so that they can be able to have enough resources to be able to reach out and do a lot of the things that county governments may not be able to do because there's no adequate resources. But you partner with them, you can be able to support their efforts. And then a huge milestone that I forgot to mention about children was this. We held the first devolution conference for children last year. And in doing so, we didn't speak on the children ourselves. We actually worked with all the 47 county educational, are they called officers or directors, in February. And we picked the children, we asked them to elect, they actually ran the conference themselves. Our role was just to bring them together and they ran everything themselves. And they even went and presented their joint communique to the president when we held the devolution conference in March. And we actioned their joint communique and reported on the progress in this year's devolution conference that was in Kakamega. So we're being asked, why did you do another one for children? It's because for the devolution conference in 2017, we had 9 months to prepare. For the devolution conference in 2018, we were only given 4 months to prepare. You understand why, the electioneering and everything. So the next devolution conference shall certainly have to get back the children to revisit what they said in 2017 as we go into 2019 and ask, did we do it and how can we work better together? So county governments are really committed. Indeed, it's not our role to manage primary school and secondary school, but where we can, we usually chip in and try and do the best that we can. So I think that's it.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we have very many burning questions, and we'll discuss this until very late, but I know our presenters are with us at least for another 10 minutes. I would like to ask us to stop there, because at least we can go for the morning tea break and then reconvene in about 20 minutes.
I don't want to forget this. Just goes to Madam. She has been very clear on distancing herself of the county government from the functions of the county government on children, especially street children and childcare facilities. I want to make reference to the role, the functions of the county, the county government. That is part 2 in the Constitution. The role of the county government. Function 9 is it clearly indicates that they have a role on pre-primary schools, which has been very articulate on. The last part of it is childcare facilities. So I don't understand why she does not recognize rescue centers, CCIs, as childcare facilities. If you look at the Children's Act, section 41 through 46, it is clearly indicated that those functions are transited to the county government. So maybe I'll request her to look at those areas afresh. And since she had already apologized that they are not experts, she can conduct as consultants, and then we guide her on why the mandate of dealing with these students is clearly domiciled in the county governor's role.
Okay, that is noted. Like we said, Kenyans are very knowledgeable, so they will get those points, and I can see the people from judiciary are she's saying it all through, so you can maybe follow up with that, and maybe we'll have a discussion with her as we're having tea. So ladies and gentlemen, let's have the tea break, 20 minutes, we'll be back. When we come back, we'll have Dr. Agnes Dangi, who will be taking us for the session with the presentation. Thank you. Jane, you can show up guests for tea.